The sun was setting behind the tall trees, painting the sky with orange and red colors. Birds flew home, and the forest became quiet. Only the sound of dry leaves moving in the wind could be heard. Thomas, a young man living near the forest, was returning home after a long day. He had gone to collect firewood for the night. His house was far from the city, alone in the middle of nature. He liked the peace, the silence, the calm life. As he walked, he suddenly heard a strange sound. It was not a normal animal cry. It was low, broken, almost like a whisper. He stopped and listened carefully. Again, he heard it. It came from behind the bushes. He slowly walked closer, moving the leaves away. What he saw made him freeze. There, lying on the ground, was a strange animal. It had silver fur that shined under the evening light. Its eyes were bright blue, almost glowing. But it was hurt, bleeding, and breathing heavily. Thomas had never seen anything like it before. It didn't look like a wolf or a deer. It looked different, but there was pain in its eyes, fear, and maybe even sadness. He looked around. No one was near. He knew the right thing to do was to help, even if it was risky. He took off his jacket and slowly moved forward. "It's okay," he said softly. "I won't hurt you." The creature didn't move, but its eyes watched him. Thomas placed his jacket under its head and checked the wound. It was deep, and there were burn marks too. Like it had been in some kind of fire or explosion. He decided to take it home. He built a small wooden sled with rope and slowly pulled the creature. It was heavy, but not impossible. He reached his small wooden house just after dark. Inside, he cleaned the wound and gave it water. The creature didn't fight. It just watched him. With those glowing blue eyes, then it closed its eyes and fell asleep. That night, Thomas couldn't sleep well. He kept hearing strange sounds, like soft whispers. He also had strange dreams. In one dream, he saw a girl with silver hair standing. In a field of stars, she was looking at him, reaching out her hand. He woke up, sweating and confused. In the morning, he went to check on the creature. It was still there, but something had changed. Its body looked different, less animal, more human. The fur on its arms was fading. Its shape was changing slowly, but when he blinked, it was back to normal. He rubbed his eyes, thinking he was just tired. Later that day, while he was out feeding the chickens, he heard a loud bang. He ran inside, but the creature was gone. Panic filled his chest. He followed the small trail of blood leading into the forest. He walked deeper and deeper, calling softly. Then he saw something near a tree. He stepped closer and stopped. It wasn't the creature. It was a girl lying on the ground. She had silver hair, glowing skin, and was wearing a torn metallic suit. Thomas looked around. There were no footprints. No one else. Could it be the same creature? He carefully touched her shoulder. Her eyes opened slowly, those same glowing blue eyes. She looked at him, and a single tear rolled down her cheek before he could speak. A strange clicking sound echoed through the forest. He turned around quickly but saw nothing. When he turned back, the girl was gone. Only the dry leaves moved where she had been lying. Thomas stood frozen. What had he just seen? Was it real? Was he dreaming again? But then he noticed something lying in the grass, a small round object, glowing faintly. He picked it up, felt warm and alive, like it was humming inside. He took it home and placed it on the table. All night, it pulsed with soft blue light. He didn't sleep, just sat there, watching it. In the middle of the night, a knock came at the door. Slow, quiet, but firm. Thomas stood up, heart beating fast. He opened the door. No one was there. But when he looked down, he saw footprints. Small, bare, and glowing in the dark. They led away from his house, back into the forest. Without thinking, he grabbed a flashlight and followed them. Step by step, deeper into the unknown. He didn't know what he would find, but something inside him said, this was only the beginning. Thomas followed the glowing footprints into the deep forest. His flashlight flickered as the wind grew stronger. The air was colder now, heavier, as if the forest was holding its breath. The trees seemed taller, their shadows stretching like silent watchers. He had walked this path many times before, but tonight it felt different, strange, ancient, alive. Suddenly, the footprints ended at a circle of stones. In the center stood the girl, no longer hurt, no longer afraid. She turned slowly to face him, her silver hair moving like light and water. Her eyes glowed like twin stars. Full of memories too deep for words, Thomas stepped back, confused and scared. But her voice stopped him, soft and clear. You helped me when I was nothing, she said, when I was weak, when I didn't even know who I was. Thomas stared at her, his mouth slightly open. You were that creature, he whispered. You changed. She nodded slowly. My name is Alara, she said. I come from a place far beyond your sky. The stones around them began to glow faintly, like they were listening, waiting, remembering. Alara stepped forward, her bare feet not making a sound. She raised her hand and Thomas watched in shock as her body shifted. For a brief moment, she became the wounded creature against silver fur. Sharp claws, glowing eyes. Then she changed back into the girl. It was like watching water turn into fire and then into wind. Beautiful, terrifying, impossible. Thomas shook his head. How is this real? He asked. Why are you here? Alara looked up at the stars between the trees. I crashed, she said. I was running from those who want to hurt me. My ship is broken, my power is weak. I used a defense mode to survive. It turns me into an animal until I feel safe. Thomas tried to understand. Aliens, shapeshifting, secret crashes, it all felt like a dream, but he had seen it with his own eyes. And in those eyes, he saw pain, not danger. She was not here to harm. Suddenly, a loud noise broke the silence. A strange humming filled the air. The stones dimmed, and Alara grabbed Thomas's hand. They found me, she whispered. We need to go. Thomas followed her without a word. They ran through the trees. The forest now alive with sounds, clicks, buzzes, and sharp whispers in the distance. Red lights flashed between the trees. Something was searching, hunting, not human. They hid under a large fallen tree. Breathing quietly above them, a shadow passed, a tall figure with glowing red lines across its body. It didn't walk. It floated. Thomas held his breath. Alara squeezed his hand, eyes wide with fear. When the figure moved away, they crawled out and ran. Alara led him to a hidden cave covered by vines and moss. Inside, the walls glowed faintly with soft blue patterns like veins in a living creature. This is where I landed, she said. My ship is below, but it's broken. Thomas looked around. The cave felt warm, full of strange symbols and quiet energy. He walked deeper and saw parts of a silver machine burnt, damaged, but still humming. A part of the ship was still alive. Alara touched a panel, and a hologram lit up in the air. It showed a star map, and something else, a red warning sign flashing over Earth. Thomas stepped back. What is that? He asked. Alara's voice was low. They're not just after me, she said. They want something hidden here, deep in your world. Before Thomas could ask more, the ship made a sharp, beeping sound. Alara's eyes widened. They've entered the forest's heart, she said. I thought I had more time. Thomas looked at her. I don't understand all of this, he said, but I'm with you. Whatever this is, we face it together. Alara gave a small, grateful smile. Then she reached into the ship and pulled out a small device. This will help you see the truth, she said. She pressed it to his chest. Just for a moment, tanned, he felt a pulse. Suddenly, Thomas saw flashes. A city made of light, stars moving like rivers, people with glowing skin. He saw himself standing among them, wearing a suit of silver. Then it was gone. He fell to his knees, heart racing. "What did you show me?" he asked. Alara looked at him with soft eyes. "Your past," she said. "Or maybe your future." Behind them, the cave shook. The enemy had found them. Alara stood up, her hands glowing with light. Thomas grabbed a metal rod from the wall. He wasn't ready, but he wasn't going to run. The cave walls pulsed like a heartbeat. Blue light flickered across the strange metal patterns as dust fell from the ceiling. Outside, the enemy drew closer. Inside, Thomas stood next to Alara, gripping the metal rod like a sword from another world. But he was no soldier. Just a man who once lived a quiet life until he saved something he didn't understand. Alara turned to face him, her hands glowing softly. "You must leave," she said. "They're here for me, not you." Thomas shook his head. "You said they want something hidden on Earth. If that's true, then this is my fight too." Alara looked at him long and deep. Not like someone seeing a stranger, but like someone searching for something they had once lost. The cave rumbled again, but this time it wasn't from outside. A panel on the wall lit up. A new voice spoke mechanical. Ancient but calm. DNA match confirmed. Activating memory stream. Thomas stumbled back. DNA match. He repeated, "What is that?" Supposed to mean. Alara closed her eyes. "It means you are not only human." She reached out and touched the wall. A beam of light scanned Thomas from head to toe. Suddenly, holograms appeared all around them, floating memories in glowing air. He saw children playing on a blue glass hill. He saw cities built into floating islands. He saw tall beings speaking in a language that felt familiar. And in the middle of it all, he saw himself or someone who looked just like him. He turned to Alara, his voice quiet. "What is this? What am I seeing?" Alara's voice trembled slightly. "A long time ago, your ancestors were part of the galactic world, but they chose to hide. They erased their memories, their powers, everything, and they became human." Thomas backed away. "No, that's not possible," he said. "I'm just a man. I build fences. I feed chickens. I don't fly ships." Alara stepped closer. "But you feel it, don't you?" She whispered, "The dreams, the connection. You felt it the moment you saw me." He couldn't deny it, since he met her. Something had awakened inside him. His dreams were more vivid. He could feel things before they happened. It was like a voice deep inside was trying to speak. Suddenly, the ground shook violently. A loud crash echoed through the cave. One of the enemy machines had broken through. A tall, insect-like being stepped in, its metal skin gleaming red. Its voice hissed like fire. "Give us the girl, and we will let the rest of your world live." Alara stepped in front of Thomas, her hands glowing brighter now, her eyes locked on the creature. "You don't belong here," she said calmly. "You bring war to a planet that chose peace." The enemy raised a weapon. Thomas didn't think he acted. He swung the rod toward a glowing crystal on the cave wall. The rod connected and the crystal exploded in light. A pulse shot through the cave, sending the enemy flying back through the entrance. But the shock knocked Thomas to the ground too. He couldn't move. Everything was spinning. Alara rushed to him, placing her hand over his chest. Her touch was warm, calming. "You awakened part of the system," she said. "But your body isn't ready yet," he coughed. "What did I do?" "You connected with the cave." She answered, "It's part of an old ship, buried here long ago. You're waking it up." From the shadows, more enemies began entering. Red lights, metal limbs, whispering voices. They were running out of time. Alara grabbed the small glowing device from the corner, the same one Thomas saw on his table that night. She pressed it against her own chest. The cave responded immediately. Walls shifted. Light formed into doors. Behind one of them, a staircase led down deeper underground. "We have to go," she said. "This ship still remembers who you are." Thomas followed her into the darkness. Behind them, the enemy screamed with anger. But the doors closed, sealing them in. Silence returned. Only the soft hum of forgotten technology surrounded them now. As they walked deeper into the unknown, Thomas looked at Alara. "Why me?" he asked. "Why did you trust me?" She stopped and looked at him. "Because," she said, "when I was a wounded animal, you didn't see a monster. You saw someone worth saving." It didn't feel like walking anymore. As Thomas and Alara moved deeper underground, the stairs disappeared. Now the ground beneath their feet felt soft, warm, like walking inside a living heart. Lights glowed in the walls' soft blue veins, pulsing gently. They were inside something ancient, something awake, and it was breathing. "Where are we?" Thomas whispered. Alara placed her hand on the wall, and the path ahead opened with a sigh. "A sleeping ship," she said, "buried here long before your kind forgot the stars." Thomas tried to focus, but questions filled his mind. Why him? Why this place? And why was his blood the key to a ship that had not moved in 1,000 years? But before he could ask, a sharp alarm rang through the walls. Red light flashed, and a voice echoed from nowhere. "Intruders detected, sealing lower chambers." Eyes widened. "They found a second way in," she said. "We're being hunted." Suddenly, the corridor behind them lit up with flashing red sparks. Thomas turned just in time to see tall, shadowy figures drop from the ceiling like spiders. Not machines, not animals, something between. They moved fast, whispering in clicks and hums, their faces hidden behind red-tinted masks. Alara grabbed Thomas's hand and ran. The walls shifted as she passed, like they remembered her. Doors opened and closed in perfect timing, but the enemy was faster. The chase had begun. Thomas felt wind against his face as they ran through glowing corridors. This ship was alive. It responded to Alara's touch. Every hallway bent for her. Every step seemed part of a memory playing again. But the enemy was learning, adapting. They began cutting through walls, jumping across tunnels. Thomas saw one of them reach out for Alara. Without thinking, he pushed her aside and took the hit. Pain exploded across his back, but he kept running. Alara turned back, her eyes glowing with power. She raised her hand, and a wall of blue light blasted out from her fingers. The enemy fell back, twitching, their metal armor steaming, but the attack drained her. She dropped to her knees, breathing hard. "I can't hold them off much longer," she said. "They're not just hunters, they're harvesters." Thomas helped her up. "What does that mean?" "They're here to take more than just me," she said. "They want the Earth, and they've done this before, planet by planet." Memory by memory, a hatch opened ahead, revealing a wide chamber in the center. A giant crystal floated in midair, glowing, humming, calling. Alira's eyes widened. "That's the heart node," she whispered. "If we reach it, the ship might wake fully. It might protect us." But as they ran toward it, the ground shook. The ceiling above cracked open, and from the dust dropped a figure Thomas hadn't seen before. It looked human, but wrong. Its skin was too smooth, its eyes too bright. It smiled, but the smile didn't feel real. "Hello, Thomas," the figure said. "We've been watching you." Thomas froze. "How do you know my name?" The figure stepped forward, its voice like silk over metal. "You're one of us," it said. "Your ancestors left, but the blood remains. You could join us or die with her." Alara stepped in front of Thomas. "You won't take him," she said. "You don't get to rewrite his soul." The figure laughed. "I'm not here to rewrite," it said. "I'm here to finish the old story and start a new one." The harvesters dropped around them, ready to strike, but Thomas didn't move back. He looked at the heart, node shining brighter now, as if calling his name. He stepped forward. One hand out. "Thomas, wait," Alara shouted. "You don't know what it will do." "I don't care," he said. "I just know it's mine." The moment his fingers touched the crystal, the chamber exploded in light. Blue energy shot through the walls, the floor, the air. The harvesters screamed, falling back, sparks flying. Even the human-like figure stepped away, shielding its eyes. Thomas floated, eyes wide open. Light pouring from his chest, images flashed before him, stars being born. Ancient ships, a silver city rising from oceans of light, and a voice inside his mind spoke, "Welcome back, navigator." The light faded slowly. Thomas fell to the ground, shaking but alive. Alara rushed to him, eyes full of fear and hope. "Thomas," she whispered, "what did you just do?" He looked up at her. "I don't know," he said. "But I think I just woke up something that was sleeping inside me for a long time." Behind them, the chamber doors closed tight, but they knew it was only for a moment. The enemy would return, and now they would come faster, stronger, angrier. But Thomas was no longer just a human, and this chase was far from over. The chamber was silent now, but not the peaceful kind of silence. This was the silence before a storm, the kind that listens, waits, watches. Thomas sat on the cold floor, still breathing heavily. His hand had touched the crystal, the heart. No Dan now. Everything felt different. Colors looked brighter. Sounds felt deeper. He could hear Elara's heartbeat, even though she stood 5 feet away. "What's happening to me?" he asked quietly. Elara knelt beside him, her voice soft and serious. "You didn't just activate the ship," she said. "You activated something inside you." Before he could ask more, the walls around them began to move. Not breaking, shifting, unfolding, like giant metal petals opening in slow motion. They stood inside a vast control room. Floating panels appeared, showing star maps, energy flows, and Earth. But not just the Earth, he knew something under its surface. Something alive. Thomas looked up. "What is that?" Lara walked to the glowing map, pointing at a cluster of blue light under the planet's crust. "It's the core beacon," she said, "a powerful relic hidden on Earth long ago. Your people were chosen to protect it." "My people," Thomas repeated, confused. "You keep saying that, but I'm not from your world." Alara turned to face him. "No," she said. "But long ago, your ancestors were. They left the stars and hid here, erasing their memories to keep the beacon safe. You're a child of both worlds now." As she spoke, the ship responded. A soft light surrounded Thomas, and images appeared again like dreams waking up. He saw himself, not as he was now, but as a tall figure wearing a glowing suit. He was leading others, flying ships, holding a staff made of light. Beside him stood Alara, laughing. Strong, alive, then fire, explosions, war, ships falling, stars dying. The beacon being sealed beneath Earth, and the last command, "Forget who you are, hide, and protect the last light." The vision faded. Thomas dropped to his knees, hands shaking. "That was me," he whispered. "A past life," Alara said. "You were the last navigator." Before they could speak further, the panels changed. A red line began moving across the star map, was coming fast. Heading straight toward Earth, Alara's face darkened. "They found the beacon," she said, "and they're coming to claim it." Thomas stood, his mind still spinning. What happens if they get it? The same thing that happened to my world. Alara said, "They will burn this planet, take its energy, and move on to the next." Outside the ship, the ground above rumbled. More enemy forces were arriving, bigger ones, faster ones. They were digging, scanning, trying to reach the Beacon before Alara and Thomas could activate it first. There's still a chance, Alara said. This ship can fly again, but only if you connect to it fully. Thomas hesitated. I don't know how. You don't need to know, she said. You need to remember. She placed her hands on his temples, her forehead touching his. Light flowed between them, memories, language, energy, pain. And love. For a moment, Thomas saw everything through her eyes. The fall of her home, the death of her people. And the last time she saw him before he became human, before the great forgetting. When they pulled apart, the ship's systems roared to life. Engines hummed under the ground. Lights danced across the walls. The chamber began to rise, lifting them toward the surface. Where are we going? Thomas asked. Alara turned to him to stop them. She said, but first, to wake the beacon. Above them, the earth cracked open like an egg. The ship rose slowly from the ground, like a ghost returning to a world that had forgotten. Its name, trees bent away from the energy, birds scattered into the sky. The villagers in the nearby town dropped their tools and stared upward in awe and fear. The enemy forces were already there, swarming like insects around the dig site. Strange machines carving into the earth, red beams scanning below. And at the center stood a tall figure in black armor, its face smooth, its voice cold. It raised a hand toward the rising ship. The traitor has returned, it said. End this now. Missiles launched. Eliar's fingers flew across the controls. Blue shields formed around the ship, shaking under the attack. Thomas grabbed a second control panel. It lit up, recognizing his touch. You remember? Alara said, surprised. Not everything, Thomas answered, but enough to fight. The battle had begun above a quiet earth. The sky was now a war zone. One ship, half awake, guided by a man who had forgotten himself, and an alien girl who remembered everything, but somewhere deep below. The beacon was still sleeping, and what it would become when it woke. No one truly knew. The sky burned, not with fire, but with light, blue, red, silver, and black colliding above the trees. For the first time in human memory, the stars looked down and saw war. Thomas stood at the center of the ancient ship's bridge, his hands on the glowing control panel, his heartbeat matching the engine's pulse. The ship wasn't just flying, Jed was alive again. It remembered him. Beside him, Alara stood focused, eyes locked on the enemy swarm outside. Her voice was, but her fingers moved fast, like someone who had done this 100 times. Maybe she had, maybe not in this life, but in others. Below them, the earth cracked open. The enemy's drills had reached the beacon's outer shell. If they broke through first, Earth would fall, not with an explosion, but with silence. The beacon must be protected, Alara said. If it wakes under their control, it will destroy everything. It doesn't understand fear, only command. Thomas nodded. We hold them here, he said, no matter what. The ship spun through the sky like a blade. Its shields shimmered with energy, absorbing blasts from the enemy machines. For every drone they destroyed, 2 more appeared, but the ship had one advantage. Thomas, it'd been a navigator once. Now the stars whispered his name again. He could feel the enemy's moves before they happened. The controls answered him like they were part of his body. Eli turned to him. We need to cut their main signal, she said. Their army is not thinking. It's listening to one voice, and that voice. Thomas asked. She pointed to the center of the enemy fleet. A large ship, black as space, glowing with red lines. He's there, she said. The false commander. Thomas took a deep breath. Then that's where I'm going. Before Alara could argue, he stepped away from the panel. He grabbed a flight suit from the wall-load. But fitted to his DNA, the suit lit up as soon as he touched it, wrapping him in a soft hum of energy. You're not going alone, Alara said firmly. Thomas looked at her. You told me once you lost everything, he said. I'm not going to let you lose me, too. She stared at him for a moment, then nodded. Together then, she said, like before. The ship opened a drop hatch and the wind screamed through the tunnel. They stepped to the edge, side by side. Far below, the enemy flagship hovered, dread lightning arcing across its surface. They jumped. Falling felt like flying. Their suits flared with soft blue light as they dropped through the clouds. The enemy didn't see them, too focused on the ship still fighting above. But as Thomas and Alara landed on the flagship's hull, the ship responded. A voice echoed from inside deep. Synthetic, cruel, return, traitor, or be erased. Thomas smiled. Let's see you try, he whispered. They moved through the corridors of the ship like fire through dry grass. Alara's hands pulsed with energy, melting doors, disabling machines. Thomas followed his instincts. Every turn felt familiar. He remembered where to go. At the heart of the ship stood the commander, tall, armored, his face hidden behind a polished mask. Red light glowed from every part of him. I gave you a chance, he said, but you chose her. Thomas stepped forward. I chose what was right. He said, you only serve power. The commander raised his arm, energy blasting toward them. Alara countered with her own light, meeting darkness in a violent flash. The ship shook from the force. Thomas rushed forward, engaging the commander in hand-to-hand combat. Every strike was like thunder. Every blow shook the walls. But Thomas wasn't losing. He was remembering how to fight, how to lead, how to protect. With one final push, he slammed the commander into the beacon's energy core. The machine screamed not with pain, but with disbelief. Its mask cracked, revealing not a face, but a twisted version of Thomas, a clone, a corrupted backup made long ago. Built to obey, designed to replace, Thomas stepped back. Stunned. I was made to win, the false commander said. But you chose love, weakness. Alara stood beside Thomas. No, she said. He chose mercy. That's something you'll never understand. Thomas reached for the core. It responded, sensing the real navigator. Blue light poured out, flooding the room. The commander screamed as his body broke apart, the connection severed. In the sky above, the enemy ships fell from the air, lifeless. The drills stopped. The beacon pulsed quietly, calm and safe again. Thomas fell to his knees. Exhausted, Alara helped him up. It's over, she said. For now, Thomas replied. But I can feel something deeper. This wasn't just an invasion. It was a test far below. The earth sighed in silence, and above, the stars blinked, waiting. The sky was quiet. No ships, no lights, no war. Only the soft breath of wind moving through the trees. Like the world itself was exhaling after holding its breath for too long. Thomas stood at the edge of a high ridge, looking down at the forest. Where it all began, sunlight cut through the clouds in golden beams, touching the earth like fingers from the stars. He was not the same man who once lived in that small wooden house. He wasn't just human anymore. Behind him, Alara walked in. Silence, her silver hair catching the morning light. They hadn't spoken much since the beacon had pulsed and the sky fell quiet. Some things were too big for words. Some victories felt like loss in disguise. Thomas turned toward her. I keep thinking, he said. If I hadn't stopped that day, if I hadn't helped the creature in the forest, none of this would have happened. Alara smiled. Just a little, but you did stop, she said. You showed mercy when there was no reason to. You chose kindness over fear. The ship, the one buried for centuries now, rested half visible among the hills. Its lights were dim, sleeping again. It had done its part. But the beacon below still pulsed faintly, like a heart that would never stop beating. Alara touched a small crystal on her wrist. A soft chime echoed, and a beam of light appeared in the sky. Her people had heard the signal. A rescue ship was coming. You're leaving, Thomas said. Not asking, just knowing. Elara nodded. There are others like me out there, others who survived. I have to find them. Help rebuild what was lost. He nodded slowly, trying to hide the ache in his chest. Then you should go, he said. I'll be okay. But she stepped closer. Eyes locked on his. I wasn't finished, she said. I want you to come with me. Thomas blinked. Me. You're not just a human anymore. She said, you're the last navigator. Your blood remembers the stars. You were born here, but you belong out there too. He looked at the trees, the hills, the world he had known. Quiet, small, safe. Then he looked at her silver eyes, strong heart, alien and yet familiar. And he saw a life not of hiding, but becoming, of flying instead of watching the sky. What if I don't remember enough? He asked. What if I fail? She reached out and took his hand. Then we fail together, she said. But you? Won't the rescue ship arrive like a whisper? No fire, no roar, just a shimmer in the air. It hovered quietly above them, opening a ramp of light. Thomas looked back one last time at the world he had protected, at the path that began with a single act of kindness. Then he stepped forward, hand in hand with Elara. As they rose into the sky, the trees below grew smaller. But something inside him grew bigger. Purpose, belonging. And something even older than memory, hope. The ship vanished into the clouds, leaving the earth untouched. But not unchanged. Somewhere, deep in the soil and stone, the beacon slept again. And if the stars ever turned dark once more, it would wake, and so would he, because mercy creates more than peace. It creates heroes, and sometimes it saves the galaxy. The end.